Hello and welcome back to Unbounded Growth. This is a podcast that helps you grow the better version of yourself. My name is Adam Shebindu and I am your host today. I will be having this session or this episode by myself. My friend Mark, we are still having some issues with our scheduling, so we have been alternating. He did one, the last episode, he was here with you guys, where he discussed the different effect of thought on your health and the effect of the thought on your purpose. And he did an amazing job. I got to listen to that episode, and it was one of the best, really, episode that we have had. Thought is a very important concept because you are the fruit of your thoughts. Like it or not, what we think we are is who we are. We are a direct fruit of how we think and what we think about. And today I'm just going to add a little plus. It won't be much, but it's a contribution to what we have already been talking about and adding a little bit more, where I'm going to be discussing the thought factor in achievement. Basically, I'll be showing you today, hopefully with the help of the book As a Man Thinketh by Jim Allen, to show you that the thoughts that you have can produce the type of achievements that you want. That's one of the things I want to show you. And before jumping into the actual concept, I would like to invite you again and to encourage you to subscribe to our page, our channel on YouTube, to subscribe to turn on your notifications for the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. As myself, I have a few podcasts that I listen to and I have them locked in so I don't miss a single episode that comes out. And for today, I'm just going to dive in and have you understand and know this concept of thoughts and achievements. That all that we achieve is a direct product of how we think. I'm going to be taking a slightly different approach to this. I'm going to be looking at it in a scientific way as well, and talk a little bit about science, about engineering, and how that basically, because we are products today of all the engineering achievement and the scientific achievements that we have experienced, or that the world has gone through during the last several years or centuries. The scientific discoveries are the reason why, for example, the life expectancy for human has tremendously increased as compared to several years ago. You know, the advent of medicine and technology and science and math. And I'm just going to be showing that as an example of achievements in the past and today. So I'm going to start with the quote here from Jim Allen's book. He basically said at the very beginning that all that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thought. In a justly ordered universe where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. Everything that we are trying to achieve and everything that we have achieved in the past, says Jim Allen, is a direct product of our thought. How can that be? Let's take a simple example of some of the biggest scientific discovery of the scientific usage engineering construct that have happened in the past. There is one of the biggest names in science that everyone almost knows. It's Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein talked several times on the power of imagination, the power of picturing the result of how things will be, picturing the ideal way of living life. And in that type of thought, in that type of mindset that Albert Einstein developed with himself and his own life, you can already see that there are the discovery, for example, or the theories that he came up with, the theory of relativity, that has been used so many ways in sending satellites into space, and in other ways, also the cell phone signals that we have, the cell phone towers, and how fast those waves will be traveling, and so on. All that's come out of that theory. So the thoughts that he had came out and give tremendous result. Thought is what creates concept, and concept is what creates achievements, or big achievement in our lifetime. One of the other books that I've read, and especially has helped me out a lot in my entrepreneurship journey, is a book called 0 to 1. And in that book, the book is by Peter Thiel. In that book, Peter Thiel tried to discuss in different ways about innovation, about the minds of people who innovate. And he's talking about how the innovators think and how the non-innovators think. And mind you, even the non-innovators that he's talking about in this book, in some sense, they are actually also thinking. And they are reaching also great achievements by the power of numbers. And in the book, in 0 to 1, he's talking about the achievements that Americans have had through the recent years, ever since the invention of the internet, and then after that, the dot-com boom that followed, and then all the way until artificial intelligence that we are all benefiting from in today's world. And what did he say there? He talked about the fact of coming from 0 to 1, coming from non-existence to existence. And that is one thing that your thoughts can lead you to. Being able to take something that was not existent, imagine it, and come out to something bigger, something that will help you, something that will help others. And at the end, you are rewarded for it. As Daniel LaPen says in his book, Business Secrets from the Bible, he says that money is a reward that we receive from God for helping with other children, for doing good in the world. And in that sense, I would also say that achievement in this case is coming out of your thought, and that achievement can produce results. And those results can also be financial in some sense. He continues here and say, a strong man cannot help a weaker unless the weaker is willing to be helped. And even then, the weak man must become strong of himself. He must be his own effort. He must be, by his own efforts, develop the strength which he admires in others. There's an exercise that we've been doing several times at Bora. Every time we have a training on leadership, and one of them is on art of influence. So we have people write down the few things that they would like to see in somebody that would influence them. And it takes some time to think about it. And you hear people talk about, I've heard a few people say that they want to be influenced by someone who has integrity. They want to be influenced by someone who is honest. They want to be influenced by someone who is intelligent. They want to be influenced by somebody who is an innovator, somebody creative, and so on. And you will see that the thought is already there, because those thoughts of the creative person ended up creating a product that we are now using and we are admiring, and we want to be like those people. And here he's saying that if we have a strong man and you have a weak man, the strong man would influence the weak man. But for the weak man to reach the level of the strong man, the weak man need to choose. So even if the strong man wants to help, the weak man has to develop the principles or has to develop the thoughts that will lead him to an achievement. And that is important when it comes to achieving things. Be living a life of high achievement and trying to simply just go for the next biggest thing to reach requires you to think. Very soon I'll be defending my dissertation proposal. And the dissertation proposal, the way it works is that you have a presentation. Of course, you haven't done all your work. That's why it's just a proposal, is that you are showing a plan. You're showing a plan to a committee of people who are great scientists. They have achieved so much in their lives. And you are coming to them with a proposal. And you are telling them, I'm planning to do 1, 2, 3. However, for you to actually pass this, you have to give it a thought. The experimental process, you have to think about it. Spend a lot of time. I'm spending weeks planning the experiment. And when you plan these experiments, because some of them are things that people have already done, so you can just copy from there. But the reason why you are actually going to be considered as a highly achieving or highly performing person is not because you copied what everybody else has copied. As Peter Thiel said, it's not like you're coming from 1 to n and multiply everything. But it's because you are coming from 0 to 1. You are adding something new that people did not have. And that's the achievement side of things. And it brings you to achieve bigger things. And what I had to do is I had to sit down, think about it several times, come up with concepts, come up with ideas that somebody else has not created before, and then connect that to real life events, what would really happen. And then imagine. So what I'm going to be proposing is it's an imaginary world in some sense, but it's not fiction, if I can say, because it's different. Fiction is something that cannot be accomplished. This one is an imaginary world. You go to that world, you imagine things, you think about it, and then you plan your achievement. And you make something that are called SMART goals. You make goals that are very specific, that are very measurable and direct in such a way that you can be able to accomplish them and add them to the list of your achievements. He continues to say, a man can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and abject and miserable by refusing to lift up his thought. Think about it. I have an aunt of mine, and I love my aunt. She's amazing. She's great. She is also great quality. But she never seems to see that she has great quality. She never. I remember growing up, she was telling us that she's like a picture. Like she came to the world to accompany other people. And she's just like a picture. She's like a post. Everybody passes by. She can't move. She can't do anything. And she just poor. And I remember that's working in my life and just thinking about it every time she would say that. And I'll be looking at her and how much her life has improved since. I can see the difference. She has remained at the exact same level. Her thoughts, the way she considers herself, is just that way. She considers herself like a picture. Imagine a picture that you took 10 years ago when you look at it. And look at how far you are today. If you were actually thinking about big things, stuff that you can achieve and accomplish in your life, and then you look at the picture from 10 years ago and you try to compare it, and imagine if you are exactly the same person who was in that picture 10 years ago. Nothing has changed about you. Financially, intellectually, spiritually, nothing has changed. You are just exactly the same way as the picture that you took 10 years ago. If that does not speak to you, then you might just be like my aunt. You might just be thinking and feeling like you are that picture. And it stayed. And my entire life, I keep on comparing. There's somebody who told me, I have my lock screen. My lock screen is my own picture. And somebody asked me every time. Actually, in American culture, I think it's something that it's a little bit shocking, or it sounds a little bit narcissistic, or I'm not sure what's the culture about it, but. Every time people see my picture on my lock screen, they go, "What? You have your picture on your lock screen," and so on. And I tell them that this lock screen makes me think. This picture, I took it last year. Like the picture that is on there right now is a picture that I took at my latest or my last big achievement as a PhD candidate. I was presenting a poster at the Biomedical Engineering Society in San Antonio, Texas. And every time I look at that picture, open my phone, I look at that picture, I see that person who achieved that last part of the achievement as a competition, not as a tree, or even a tree grows actually, not as a post that is just staying there. No, I look at that picture as something that can push me toward my next biggest achievement. I always think about it, and this is something that has defined my life. I keep on thinking, what is the next thing that I can accomplish? What's the next thing that I can bring or I can contribute with? Now, look at it. The more I look at that picture, the more it inspires me. The more I think about that moment when I was succeeding, when I was being big. Then I connect that part to the next thing. It inspires me, it empowers me. And when it does, as a result today of me looking at that picture regularly, I want to achieve more. And I won't be at the level this year. I'm not at the level where I was when I was taking that picture. I am not at the level where I'm presenting a poster at a conference. I'm at the level where I have submitted my manuscript completely well done and fully as a first author. And the next big things, I've been approved or I've been selected to not be a poster presenter, but at this time, I'm going to be an oral presenter. I'm going to have a full audience, a room full of people sitting down, listening to what I have to say about science. Now, think about it. If the time you took that picture, you stop thinking and you settle and you stay there, you become stagnant, you won't go any further. Now, that is the power of thinking, of thoughts on your achievements in that sense. There's another point here that he brings. He says, before a man can achieve anything, even in worldly things, he must lift his thoughts above lavish animal indulgence. When we talk about animal indulgence, or basically like the animal thoughts, is basically the sense of survival. A lot of people tend to think just to survive. Basically, what's dominating your thoughts right now, some people will be, okay, I just want to eat. What am I going to eat today? Or, okay, I just woke up in the morning. What else am I going to do about my life? And you just start thinking about the most basic things. What am I going to eat? Or what am I going to wear? Or how are people looking at me? And who am I going to take down today? And in a bad way, mostly because in an animal world, think about it. What a lion thinking is basically like every other animal out there is a prey. If it's weaker than the lion will eat it, and so on. You could have your entire life centered on those basic things. Or you could choose to have your life based on transformation, on things that are bigger. And now, if you're watching this episode, I am assuming that you are thinking about big things, because you cannot be watching and spending 30 minutes to an hour listening to somebody talking and just thinking to yourself or thinking to your life that you're average, or you just want to achieve some very, very small things and go on with your life, or just thinking about what you're going to eat. Now, if you're watching this, I am assuming, or if you've been watching and listening to us for the last several months that we've been recording this podcast, I would think that you are starting to take steps toward thinking bigger, toward looking also at what is out there that would inspire you to grow, that will empower you and lift you up to grow. So I'm assuming that you are already using your thoughts correctly, and you have achieved a milestone by listening to this podcast. Now, it doesn't have to now stop at this podcast. Your thoughts have to be lifted above the place that you were yesterday. You have to start growing in thinking. This is something that a lot of people don't think about. Growing in thinking. In the Bible, Paul said that when I was a child, I was thinking like a child. I was doing things the children way. But now I'm an adult. I am thinking like an adult. I am starting to accomplish things that adults do accomplish. And this is an important factor in your personal life and also in a spiritual life, if I can talk about it that way. And he says again, a man whose first thoughts is bestial indulgence could neither think clearly nor plan methodically. He could not find and develop his latent resources and would fail in any undertaking. Now, if everything you're centralizing your thought on is on what you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, assuming that you've already solved those things, but it's just that where your entire thought are centralized on, just like living in a life almost like an animal. If that's where your thoughts are centralized, then we have a problem, because anything big that is supposed to be happening in the next part of your life, it won't be happening. And that will become a challenge for you. And another thing that I would think about it is as I'm going through the idea of thought and achievement, is also the power of thought in planning. Because for you to achieve something, you gotta plan it. But for you to plan it, you gotta think about it. You see, I kind of just open a gap over there from the book. When you are planning, a lot of the things you plan, they have not been accomplished yet. You have not made them. They are still futuristic. They're still yet to happen. That's where your thoughts become very crucial. Because when you systematically plan, and as the book says here, you methodically plan them. And to me, that is the most important part of thinking, is thought lead to plan. Plan leads to achievement. When you think about it enough and you start planning it slowly, step by step, then it gets you to a point or to a place where you can achieve something. And there's a few examples here that Jim Allen gives. It says, intellectual achievements are the result of thought concentrated to the search for knowledge or for the beautiful and true in life and nature. That's deep. That's for the scientists that are listening to us. That's for the engineers that are listening to us. The intellectual achievements, the big things that you can achieve intellectually, is a direct product of your thought. In research, as I said earlier, you have to imagine. And you have to imagine big things in a level where nobody else has, and come out of there with something that's going to wow everybody. In engineering, it's actually even more. Engineers look at nature, and what we do is that we look at nature, the way it functions, we think about it, and we try to create something that's going to mimic it. Scientists, they do the opposite. They look at nature, but they look at the composition of nature and try to understand how it works. And that's why scientists are the ones that inspire engineers. Scientists understand how it works, and engineers reproduce it. And that is kind of a symbiotic relationship that we have there. Another example he talks about, he says, spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. He who lives constantly in the conception of noble and lofty thoughts, who dwells upon all that is pure and unselfish, will, as surely as the sun reaches its zenith and the moon its full, become wise and noble in character and rise into a position of influence and blessedness. This is important for anyone who's listening to us and has spiritual aspiration and want to get at a higher level spiritually. The Bible actually talks about it. If you want to live a Christian life that is rewarding, and you want to live longer, you want to live happier, the Bible says, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is righteous, whatsoever is fair, if I can put it that way, is what should be the object of your thought. Now, when you think about stuff that are good, those fruits that are coming to you, those fruits that are that you're producing, not coming to you directly, but the fruit that you are producing by positive thoughts can also be seen as achievement. And that's how you achieve big things spiritually, by thinking about it correctly in a pure way. Another point here is to say achievement of whatever kind is the crown of effort, the diadem of thoughts. By the aid of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thoughts, a man ascends. By the aid of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion of thoughts, a man descends. Now, how do you get up? How do you become highly achieving? Is by the aid of what type of thought? The thought of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thought. Thoughts that are not just wandering. It's not just letting your mind wander. No, it's centralizing your thoughts into something bigger, something that the world has yet to see, something that you can achieve in the biggest possible ways. And that is an important part of thoughts in achievements. Now, if you want to go down, if you want to be a person who, like my aunt, as I give it an example, who just want to be a post or a picture, which type of thought should you develop? You should develop the thought of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion. If you want to be that way, and people who don't think about big things, they tend to be thinking about very small things, like small issues with people. Thinking about some basic things. Who did that? Who didn't do this? Who did that? Who didn't do that? Or putting everything, just like blaming everybody for all that happened to you. Like because of this person, because of that. without thinking directly of what could be your contribution, what could be something that you can do to uplift that version of people, those people, that can stop you from achieving things that are big because you are thinking at an animal level. Now, another really good point here that he makes is say, a man may rise to high success in the world and even to lofty altitude in the spiritual realm, and again descend into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, and corrupt thoughts to take possession of him. The best way to sustain your achievement, or the best way to keep on achieving and reaching new height, is to maintaining and empowering and fueling the great and positive thoughts that you have had throughout your entire life as you have been achieving. And this is for my higher achievers out there. The only way that you can sustain that growth is for you to continue fueling it by imagination, thinking outside the box, thinking what everybody else is not thinking. That's what the Zuckerbergs of this world did. That's what the Bezos of this world did, or the Elon Musk. Think about something that's everybody else. And this does not require you to be educated, although education helps. This just requires you to be a human who wants something bigger for themselves. Now, if you can just fuel yourself up with great and meaningful thoughts, that will make a huge difference in your life. And I'm going to conclude here by a few of these things that he says. He says that victories attained by right thoughts can only be maintained by watchfulness. Looking over your thoughts, watching over them, and basically using some of these things that he gives here as what can sustain your life and your achievements. He said all achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thoughts, are governed by the same law, and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. That's what it is. In every aspect of your life, thought play a great and important thing in the growth process, in the achievement process. If you want to achieve anything big, start thinking about it right now. I just challenge you to spend the next week or the next 2 weeks until we record the next episode. Spend the next 2 weeks. Start thinking big. Think big. Think in the level. You see when they say, like, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. I would change that a little bit. If your thoughts do not scare you, then they are not big enough. If your big thoughts, in this case, because they can also be a scary thought, but if your big thoughts do not scare you, that means they're not big enough. Just think about it. Big thoughts. Something huge, something big that you can be doing, that you can be accomplishing. Set your mind on those things. If it's religious, Jesus actually said that set your mind on things above. The things that you need to think about need to be things that are beyond just everyday's life. Think about something big that you could be achieving. And I bet to you that you will be achieving them. Because, and again, these are not just wandering thoughts. As I said, that for thoughts to lead to achievement, thoughts have to be thoughts of planning. Put thought into a plan, and the plan would direct you into the next biggest achievement. And as again I said, as the example of the picture that I have on my phone, every time I look at it, it empowers me. It gives me the courage to become bigger. And that is the power of thoughts in achievement. And that was Jim Allen's book, As a Man Thinketh. I think we're going to be closing down this book in the next coming weeks with Mark Alain. We are trying to work out our schedule so we can be able to meet and record again together. because it's really great when we are here together. I really love him, and I'm hoping that the next time we meet with him, we can record a really nice episode for you guys. And thank you so much for tuning in with us. This is a very brief episode. It's just one chapter. I wanted to go through the next part of this as we close down the book of Mark, as we studied it together. And thank you very much for tuning in today. And I will see you in the next couple of weeks to continue the discussion on As a Man Thinketh and close it down so we can move on to the next book that we're going to be recording. Until then, thank you so much. And again, I want to say thank you for everyone who supported our Bora Scholars program, anyone across the country, across the United States that really just stepped up. We are so happy that we're going to be welcoming Naomi coming all the way from Goma to do her PhD here in the US. So thank you so much for everyone who wanted to be a part of this. I know it takes a village, but you are all, were awesome. You all stepped up for us on that. And with that, I would like to end this episode by saying again, thank you so much for tuning in. And do not forget to subscribe to our page on YouTube, and also to follow our podcast on Spotify and all the other platforms where you can listen to, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any new episode. Thank you so much, and have a great week.